So the first clip was Officer Dunn, who is testifying about the galactic international worst event that ever happened in history, the Capitol 6 riots. And of course, this partisan hackery that we're going to get into and show you is all lies. What we're seeing is the domestic terror war 2.0 that's beginning before our very eyes. There is a smear attempt to try to label everybody who is on the right a racist. Now, we're going to find out a lot about Officer Dunn and find out that he's not a nonpartisan witness of what actually happened. Let's go ahead and let's listen to his full testimony there for a second. And tell me if you do not get Smollett vibes from this.
One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? Voted for Joe Biden." Then the crowd, perhaps around 20 people, joined in screaming, "Boo!" No one had ever called me a while wearing the uniform of a Capitol Police officer. In the days following the attempted insurrection, other Black officers shared with me their own stories of racial abuse on January 6th. One officer told me he had never, in his entire 40 years of life, been called a to his face, and that streak ended on January 6th. Yet another Black officer later told me he had been confronted by insurrectionists in the Capitol who told him, "Put your gun down and we'll show you what kind of you really are."
Okay, well, first of all, here's some tissues. They said boo, boo-hoo to you.
Oh my goodness.
Take a couple, cry, officer, cry a little more as you lie to the general public. Blatant lie.
Yeah.
We know it's a lie for two reasons. Number one, other officers that are testifying were able to show their body cam footage with sound to show exactly what was happening. We conveniently lost, I think, Dunn's body footage.
Of course. I think that his camera probably just spontaneously combusted because of the amount of racist energy that was being directed towards him. That's probably what happened to his body cam.
Yeah, and what's crazy too is he said this is what I want to break down. So you look at this story, and obviously you might be like, Elijah, are you callous? It's so bad to call a Black person the N-word. Okay, fine. That's okay. I agree. Why would you want to go call a Black person the N-word? There's a whole other debate on why people have instinctive reactions to certain words, and we can't be civilized in a society. But I would say that if, generally the African-American community doesn't like to be called the N-word, don't do it because it can cause serious problems. And I would say that if this guy, probably, especially an officer, not even because of the color of his skin, just using racial slurs towards him, bad idea.
Yeah.
However, what we find out is a couple things that start to bring up questions about this testimony, and something really stood out to me here, is that he says, never before officers said that they were called the N-word until today, aka racism did not exist until January 6th. This was the first time that anybody encountered racism, and I might believe that. I might believe the fact of Officer Dunn saying that racism did not exist until this day, except for the fact, unfortunately, if you can go to my screen here, Officer Dunn has been complaining about racism and against the right wing for some time. He has an unfortunate long history of making posts like this, saying, "I hate Tucker Carlson. What an out-of-touch asshole that has no clue about anything that doesn't look like him or agree with him. Get over it." Interesting, with an image that says American slavery, 246 years. I love how they started at 1619, as if America was a country in 1619, as if we didn't become a country in 1776, and as if that wasn't British slavery. But anyways, let's just throw history out the window and screw that. Do you ever find that weird, Savannah? That every time people complain about history, they start saying 1619, and you go, "Sir, we weren't a country in 1619. I don't know if you knew that."
Well, I mean, the fact that we've rewritten our entire history books, would make a lot of people believe that 1619 would be that correct point. So, it's not his fault, really. It's just that's history now.
Yeah, and he has a race, then he has segregation going on for 89 years, and then he has it end in 1954. So I understand why they hadn't heard the N-word before, because apparently racism ended in 1954, and Black people have just been having a good life since then, not shooting each other and committing a disproportionately higher crime than anybody else. So we know that's not happening. But Officer Dunn is actually a racist. So he's been a race baiter in this post. He's already complaining. You could see he doesn't like Tucker Carlson, clearly is not into right-wing politics, because if he was based and actually understood what this country was about, he would like Tucker. So he calls him an out-of-touch, which is fine.
Okay.
But then he also says he doesn't care about anything that doesn't look like him, which means that racial identity and skin color is a big deal to this guy, which is why he made everything about racism, that even his account about the Capitol, which God knows, I would love to hear some real accounts from officers who are not political, who might actually, help. There's a lot of people who doubt. I saw today, Savannah, I have to put this to rest here. People are like, do you think that any officers got assaulted at the Capitol, or were they all crisis actors? Brother, I just handed over like 12 gigabytes of hard files to Tucker Carlson's team for a project they're working on with many officers who got assaulted, okay? Mm-hmm. And a lot of officers got assaulted that day. Let's not pretend like that didn't happen.
And that's what I want to jump in and talk about too. Instagram has since deleted this video, but I did watch a police officer get pulled out of, I guess, the line of police officers.
We deleted on your page, by the way.
Yes,
clarify that.
Deleted on my Instagram page, because a police officer got pulled from the line and he was getting mobbed, but guess what happened? Big Trump supporting men came to his rescue, surrounded him, and safely escorted him down and said, nobody touch him. And they got him out of that crowd safely.
Yes. And I'd like to say this too, that a lot of officers assaulted a lot of people. And that's a whole other story that we need to talk about. But of course, the harrowing accounts, we're going to break down more of Officer Dunn. You go, well, maybe, just maybe, he's a black guy living in a white man's world. And he's just upset about it. Clearly no opportunities in life, unable to get ahead. Clearly somebody who's living in a country that would only put him in one of the most secure buildings in their country, in a very important position to protect the most important people politically in the country. So difficult, man. My heart is with you.
It's just really hard when people platform you to speak in front of 330 million Americans. It really is an example of how oppressed the minorities are in this country, myself included.
A great philosopher once said that you can be 2 out of 3 things: liberal, smart, or honest, but you can't be all 3. At Slightly Offensive, we're smart and honest. And if you like this clip, head over to Slightly Offensive YouTube channel by clicking right here, where you can find new episodes of our show weekly. We're bringing you the topics, news stories, and angles that will have you saying, why the hell wasn't I subscribed sooner? Also, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to this channel too.